Hey, welcome back to Guitar Foundations. This is the bar chord 2 lesson. So I hope you put some time with bar chords 1 and gotten to where you can play that E major bar chord shape and move it around the fretboard. If you can't do that yet, it's really important that you go back and get to where you can play that very cleanly, because we're going to be learning the A major bar chord shape to put with this. And this is a really important step, because once you have these two major bar chord shapes down, the E and the A, you're going to be able to play major chord progressions without jumping all around the fretboard like we did in the last lesson. So it's a big, important step for being able to play a lot of different songs. Now, if you have the Guitar Foundations book, it's a really good idea to go back through the clean bar checklist just to make sure that you have all of those tips right on the tip of your brain as we learn this A major bar chord shape. And you're going to be a step ahead of the game here, because you have the strength and a lot of the technique and coordination you need with your bar. And that's half of the equation here. The other half is getting to where you can play the A major chord, just a normal A major, instead of with your first, second, third fingers, to where you can play it with your second, third, and fourth fingers, just like we did with the E major shape. That is step number 1 that you need to be able to do. So treat this just like you were learning a brand new open chord shape, and work on getting to where you can put that chord on all at once without having to think about it, or go one finger at a time or anything like that. That is step number 1. Step number 2 is just putting the bar with that A shape. And there are 2 different variations for this bar chord that I want to show you. Let's start off by putting our bar on the 3rd fret of, across all 6 strings. Actually, you can do all 6 strings, or you can do just the top 5 strings here, A through high E, and just kind of mute the low E string with your first finger. It really doesn't matter, whichever one you want to do is fine, because we're not going to be playing the low E string, because that open A major chord doesn't use the low E string, right? So either way you want to think about it is fine. When I do it, I tend to bar all 6 strings, just because it's easy to kind of slap on there and have the same kind of technique that you would when you're playing and making an E major bar chord shape. So you already have that down, able to play a regular bar, have it clean. If not, if it still sounds a little iffy, go through that clean bar checklist. And what you want to be able to do is put your shape on with that bar with your second, third, and fourth finger. So do kind of the same thing, put the bar first and then put the A shape on, and leave the low E string out, strum. How does that sound? If you need to make an adjustment, make an adjustment. I guess you could do it like this too. I don't ever make it this way for some reason. You could switch your second and third fingers around if you wanted to. But the variation on this shape that I wanted to show you is where you make a second bar with your third finger across the D, G, and B strings. And especially on acoustic with this, you can't always get the high E string to ring out. You have to be really intentional about it. And when I do this, I really have to collapse my finger or kind of bend it like that. See the difference between just this and then this, to get my finger to clear that high E string. That's really tough at first, so either way is fine, whichever one you want to do. I like to use both for different musical situations, but those are the 2 variations of this A major chord, bar chord shape that you need to get down. And the way you work on this is just like you did at the E chord. Put the bar down first, and then the shape, and then the shape down first, and then the bar. And just kind of cross train like that back and forth. You could do the double bar if you like, and it's going to take some work to get that to where you can do that and then have that high E string ring out as well. So you're going to need to choose which one you use, but you're going to need to tackle both eventually. And I'm not going to lie, it's tough. I picked playing acoustic for this lesson for a reason. It's tougher on the acoustic, but I want to prove to you that you can do it if you put in the time with this. So that's step number 1. If you need to stop the video and get to where you can go bar, shape, and then shape, bar, and then all at once eventually. That's the first step, and then you can work on the other shape as well. So what we need to do now is just work on getting the shape down first, and then once you're comfortable with that, come back and work on moving the shape up and down the fretboard to new locations, just being aware of what note you're playing with your index finger on the A string. That'll give you whatever chord you're playing. So if you have your bar on the 5th fret of the A string is a D, that means you have a D major chord using the A major shape. If you wanted to play a B chord, all you would have to do is move your index finger onto the 2nd fret, because the 2nd fret of the A is a B note. That means you'd be playing a B major chord using an A shape. So A, D, C, B flat, A. B flat's a really important one, so work on that one as well. So this is kind of the end of what would be level 2 for this video. So if you need to stop the video and work on just moving this shape around, that is perfectly fine. Now we're going to move on to combining the E and A major chord shapes, so you don't have to jump all around the fretboard like we did in the last lesson. If so, for example, if you wanted to play a G, C, D progression, you wouldn't have to jump all the way up here to the 10th fret with your bar chord, your E-shaped bar chord. What you could do is just start with your G chord here, 3rd fret, E shape, and then if you want to play C chord, I don't even have to move my bar at all. It's already being fretted, the A string is already being fretted on the 3rd fret, which is a C. All I have to do is change my shape with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers to an A shape, and that gives me a C major bar chord using an A shape. So if I can go G, C, instead of G all the way up here to a C. And if you want to continue that G, C, D, G progression that we had in the last lesson, you can go from G to a C, and then once you reach this point, just move up a whole step, the whole shape up, to the 5th fret, where your bar's on the 5th fret. It's a D, so you'd be playing a D major chord using the A bar chord shape, and that would give you that progression that you needed instead of jumping around like this. G, C, D, and back to G. You could just go G, C, move up 2 frets, D, and back to G. That's a lot more efficient than moving all around the fretboard. And the cool thing about this is it enables you to play this in any key that you want on the guitar. If I wanted to play this in the key of A, same kind of chord progression, but in the key of A, all I have to do is start on the 5th fret with the E shape, and then keep everything the same relative to where I started. So I'd be playing A, D, E, A. Pretty cool. So that's the next level as far as what we're concerning ourselves with in this video, is to get to where you can switch from G to C to D, mixing up the E and A major shapes. So first step for this is to just don't even worry about time. Just play as slowly as you need to, going from shape to shape. And if you're having trouble getting to that A shape from the E, it's a sign that you need to go back and just work on putting that chord on by itself before trying to switch between chords. So just take that with a grain of salt. Work on that as much as you need to for a couple days or weeks, and then work on switching between them. Just going through that chord progression. We're going to go through the same series of exercises. So you have same progression, G, C, D, G, with whole notes with a measure of rest between each chord change to give you time to change. So do that without a metronome first. G, 2, 3, 4, measure to switch. 1, 2, 3, 4 to that C. Measure of rest to switch to the D, then the D. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then to the G. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then a measure of rest to get ready to start the entire thing again. Once you're feeling confident with this, you can either put the jam track on and play along with it. It's at 70 beats per minute, or put a metronome on it, 60 or 70 beats per minute, and give it a try. Make sure to hold the chords out as long as possible before changing, so there's no seam in between the chords. And when you slide up, release the pressure off your index or your fingers, so there's no squeaky squeak sound. Okay, 70 beats per minute. 1, 2, 3, 4. G, 2, 3, 4. Rest. Switch to C. 3, 4. C. 2, 3, 4. Rest. 2, 3, 4. 1, 2 is the D. 3, 4. Rest. 2, 3, 4, and then back to G. 2, 3, 4. And just repeat that over and over again. And how well you get through that exercise is going to tell you if you need to go back and work on the individual shapes, or just kind of go back and work on this without a metronome. The next level for this is taking the rests out. So you have 2 measures of G, 2 measures of C, 2 measures of D, and then 2 more measures of back to G. So you want to leave this as seamlessly as possible, so that second measure of each chord, just hold out as long as possible before making the change. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another measure. 1, 2. Comes the C. 4. Make the switch. 2, 3, 4. 2, comes the D, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, another measure, 1, 2, 3, and back to G, 1, 2, 3, 4, another measure, G, 2, 3, 4. That's really it for this lesson, and you're probably thinking, that's it? That's a lot. It is a lot. My finger, actually, right here, my bar finger is sore. You can see, I don't know if you can see on the camera, but it's red and sore. Because this is a lot of bar chord practice. So take it as much as you can per day, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes. Split the practice sessions up if you need to. And here are your assignments for this lesson. Number 1, work on playing the open A major chord with your 2nd, 3rd, and 4th fingers instead of your 1st, 2nd, and 3rd fingers. Number 2, you can practice the A major chord shape with this mini bar. Working on getting that high E string to ring out and building the strength to kind of manipulate your finger to bend like that. Number 3, put the bar and the shape together and get every note to ring out super clear. And if you need to, put the bar down first and then the shape, or the shape and then the bar, just to kind of cross train to build that strength and coordination. It's a really good plan of attack for that one. Number 4, move the bar shape up and down the fretboard. So work on putting on the C, then go up to maybe a D, then an E, working on just the natural notes at first, maybe B, or just pick a random fret and figure out which chord it is, just get used to moving the shape around. Number 5, play through the G, C, D, G progression using a combination of the E and A bar chord shape. So G, C, D, G, without a metronome at first. And number 6, the ultimate goal for this lesson is to play through that G, C, D, G progression, either with a metronome at 70 beats per minute or with the jam track, using those main 2 exercises, the ones with the rest and the one without the rest. So with a metronome, full exercise, or with a jam track. This is a lot to work on, and I know it's pretty physically demanding, but it's worth putting in the time and effort because it's going to open the doors to a lot of different things for you. You're going to be able to play major chords in any major key, and you're going to be able to play a lot more of the songs you love relatively easy once you get the rest of these bar chords down. If you have any questions at all, leave them in the comments below or email me directly at nate@natesavage.com. Now, if you're having really serious trouble with any of these individual areas, you can always go to natesavage.com and schedule a private lesson with me. The first one is complimentary, so there's no risk. Be sure to put in the time on this because we have one more lesson on bar chords and Guitar Foundations. It's the next video where we're going to learn 2 minor bar chord shapes. Work on this and I'll see you there.